Welcome everybody, share number 611. We're learning today Le'iloi Nishmas Moshe Dov ben Rabban Zisel Le'iloi Nishmas Blima Bas Rab Moshe. Okay, getting back to our malacha of TZOVAYA, coloring and dyeing. So just a little bit more. We want to go through a few more odds and ends that are not maybe as negei l'maisa as some of the other ones, but it's important to keep in mind. So first of all, the Sefer Klalim brings down a fact which we've spoken about a little bit. We mentioned in reference to the Magen Avram that says, brought down the Mishabura, that if a towel is red, one should be careful not to wipe something red in it. So he explains over there, does it say for Klalim, Asa Midioraisis, Taka Asa Minatar Litzeveya, Dover Shekavar Nitzba, Erev Shabbos, something that is already colored from Erev Shabbos, and you want to put in the same color, that's also to do on Shabbos. So one might ask, what's the problem? If something is already black and I want to make it blacker, what am I really doing? Is that really considered coloring? So he says, yeah, Havatam, the reason is TZOVAYA hu yipoi, the coloring now, something, for example, just to give an example, if something's black, and somebody puts in some more black, we'll see some examples. So they're actually strengthening and beautifying that item even more. Now Hitaka says, "Validei hoisofas tseva harei misyapa." Through the additional, even it's the same color. Through somebody has an item that's black, and through adding additional blackness to it, they are beautifying that item. He says just a very interesting thing in reference to why we know by if somebody writes over a letter, when it comes to kosev writing, somebody has aleph, beis, or the like, and they write it over exactly with the same ink. Let's say somebody's a blue aleph, and they'll write over with same blue ink on Shabbos, let's say, the same aleph on top of that aleph. So that would be aser midrabanan. So the question is, why do we say that this is going into a question of deraisa? If somebody blackens something that's already black, why is that? Now we're not getting into the derech lichlach part. Just in general, somebody blackens something that's already black. Why would that be aser midiaraisa? Whereby just writing over a letter we saw would be aser midrabanan. If they write exactly with the same ink, it's not a change of color of ink. It's the same exact blue ink, and they write over that letter. You're not allowed to do it, of course, but it's still only aser midrabanan. So he explains so beautiful that the isser of kosev, of writing, is that you should be able to read the letter. And over here you can already read the letter. What's the problem? Okay, you're strengthening it a little bit, whatever. You're making it a little bit darker, writing over. It's still awesome at Rabbanim. But so he says, you already wrote it with the ink. You're not really adding anything by writing over the letter. You can still read the aleph before, and you can read the aleph now. It's just a little bit darker, that's all. But by TZOVAYA, by coloring, when you make one color on top of another, in other words, black on black, or red on red, or so whatever the case is, the ikr is, the main thing is what's showing off to the eyes. In other words, it now becomes better and more beautiful to the eye. He says, by adding that black on black, red on red, or one color on top of another one, it's the same blue on blue, whatever it is. It taka changes the whole outlook of the color. It strengthens it, it deepens the color, and again, back to what we always say, it enhances the surface. And he wants to say, that that's taka the iser of TZOVAYA mina Torah misyapa, when you're changing or you're beautifying the look shel hatzeva shekvar sham. In other words, you're deepening the black, you're deepening the red, you're deepening the blue color. And Taki brings on the case from the Mishabura. Somebody wipes their hands from, let's say, pomegranates that's red on top of a red towel. So b'shem the Magen Avram, there's also to do yesh isur lahoisef alav oitzeva adam, because lamaisa, the person, when the dust settles, they're adding redness to a red towel. And basically, to an extent, you could say they're sharpening up the look. So maybe that might only be a drabanan over there, but be it as it may, we don't want to bog down too much on the lumdus of it, but the bottom line is to put one color on top of another. Even though it's the same color, you're strengthening the color, black on black, blue on blue. Even though one might say, what am I really doing? I'm not putting blue onto a white surface where that's real coloring, black onto a white surface. No, I'm putting black on black, blue on blue, red on red. No, that's also to do because of the fact, again, one is strengthening the color, beautifying the color. So with that, he brings down a few interesting examples. First example, like we said, Asam Midiraisa Lite Mashka Odam Al Beged Odam. One has to be very careful not to wipe, even though it's derech lichlach, one wiping one's hands if it's the same color in the same color towel. If, red, the guy have red on the hands to wipe the hands in a red towel. They have blue on the hands, blue ices, not to wipe it in the blue towel, and the like. He brings an interesting example. Asam in Atari says Asam Midiraisa Letzavei B'Tzeva Shocher Koisel Bayis B'Shabbos. Somebody puts some black color, black paint or whatever on a black wall, on top of a black wall. Af Heicha Shekafar Nitzbah HaKoisel B'Tzeva Shocher. Even though it's already black over there, but they add more black paint, for example, just giving an example, or a black marker. So that will be also Asam in Atari, because again they're strengthening the black. But another interesting case which we have comes up, one has to be careful in reference to shoes, polishing shoes. Also, mediaraisa atzamin atarilitain mishachas naolim shocher al gabe naolim shechayrim b'Shabbos. Somebody puts shoe polish onto a black shoe. Besides the fact you have another problem, you have one of the lamites malachas of memachek mimareich, the smearing part. But even if you'll say, well, maybe I have a liquid, my shoe polish is liquid, so maybe I could use that. So good to use the old-fashioned shoe polish. That's the smearing type. It's a very strong oil base, and it's so that's like a cream. That's a real memarech, a real memachik, a real smearing. But if you have, sometimes they do have the liquidy shoe polishes. So somebody might think, well, maybe I could put my black liquidy shoe polish. There's no memarech over there, no smearing over there. Maybe I could put some of that on my shoe. I have a little bit white spot on my shoe. I forgot to color it up, let's say before Shabbos, or I want to just darken, and like our case, I want to darken the blackness on my shoe. I'm going to a simcha or the like, so you have to know that is also to do, because even though it's black on black, I'm putting black shoe polish on top of a black shoe, that's also to do, because putting one color on top of another, even though it's the same exact color, you are strengthening the color and beautifying the color, and thus enhancing the surface, and that is the real malacha of TZOVAYA, coloring and dyeing on Shabbos, even though it's the same color on top of another color. Brings up, by the way, does it say for klolim from these Sefer Shmir Shabbos HILCHOS TZOVAYA Arakuf Chav Zayin. One more quick interesting thing, he brings also to the Sefer Klolim in reference to shining, lahavrik, to shine something up. For example, let's say you're shining the shoe. I'm not putting the black polish per se, but to shine something, Hitaka brings from the Sefer in the Shmir Shabbos HILCHOS Zalman in Perik Yudalad Arakuf Nun Beis, that is also Mishum TZOVAYA lahavrik alidei mishcha shekufa shemen v'chadayma. Making something more shiny is also running into the issue of the malacha of TZOVAYA, coloring and dyeing. Because don't forget, what are we doing when we're shining something? Again, we're enhancing the surface. What was done in the Mishkan with the curtains, with the areas, they enhanced the surface. They put red, they put black, whatever the case is. But again, even though you're shining, you'll say, well, it's only a clear, it's a clear color. It's a clear color. Let's say a woman's putting clear nail polish. One is not allowed to put asamed rabban elisha. Let's say a woman's not allowed to color the nails even with clear nail polish. You'll say, what am I doing wrong? It's clear nail polish, but again, it's enhancing the surface with a shine. Now, however that enhancing is being done, whether it's with oils or nail polish, whatever it is. So the same thing you have over here by the shoes also. This is a form of shining up the shoe, is running into the same type of a problem. We're talking about when you put something on top of a shoe, not just if there's a little bit of dust you take off, but just, starting to smear oils on the shoe and the like, even though you'll say, well, I'm not putting black on black. We said black on black is a problem. I'm just shining it up a little bit with some oil or whatever. So that is also running into a problem. Once again, we're enhancing the surface. And he says, interesting, she'ein chiluk, there's no difference in misyapa mara if you enhance the surface or you beautify the look of it, al yidei tzeva, whether you're actually using a color like black or blue or whatever, or al yidei mishcha she'amavrik achefetz, or you're using something like the shmir on, where it's just shining the surface. There's no actual color, but it's shining it with a clear thing. You're shining the surface. It's also running into the isser of TZOVAYA. He says, interesting, that just like by lipstick, let's say there's a lipstick that there's no smearing per se, the regular stick of lipstick, but let's say it's a watery or oily substance or whatever the case is. But if it's red, so a person's coloring the lips. So again, that's, of course, we know that's TZOVAYA, even though it's not the actual stick itself. But even if it's a watery, oily substance or whatever, that's still TZOVAYA, coloring the lips with red. But even just to have it shined up, a person does it too, so that it will be stick out for a shine. Again, enhancing the purpose, the surface, that would also be running into a problem. And the same thing, like we said in reference to the shoes, putting shine on the shoes, putting shine on nail polish, these type of things. Also, anything that even though it's a shine, it's not a color per se, is still not allowed to be done. One more quick note in reference to shoes. These inyanim could sometimes be running to which we're going to have to learn, the malacha of ma'amed. Ma'abed is tanning and whatever, fixing up leathers. Could be a little bit of memachik. So we're gonna have to talk about that when we get to those malachas. Okay, one last case he brings down, interesting, is somebody has wood, a piece of wood, and they put shellac on the wood, even though it's clear. Again, it's shining up the surface. It's running into the Isser of TZOVAYA. Thank you for listening. Atzlach and bracha, kol tov.